and welcome to Screenwipe, or Willkommen außen Screenwipen, as they say in Germany. This is a programme all about television, and I'm your host, Charlie Brooker. Cheers. The 1980s were my formative years, and I was fairly convinced at the time, likely to be my last, because throughout that decade I was convinced that we might nuke the planet's balls off at any given moment, and I don't think I was entirely wrong.
Mr. Reagan was at the ranch preparing for the weekly radio broadcast.
My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes.
Nuclear-themed programmes held a grim fascination for me. Programmes like Threads, which dramatised the effect of a nuclear attack on the UK. Or this 1982 QED documentary called A Guide to Armageddon.
The film you're about to see shows what happens when a 1 megaton nuclear bomb explodes over central London. Everywhere inside this 7-mile radius, the effect on directly exposed flesh is the same. It behaves like the meat in the butcher's window. Animal fats melt and burn. Tissues are charred to black carbon.
In a way, it was almost reassuring to discover that the telly seemed just as concerned about the effects of nuclear war as I was. But on the other hand, well, the fact that it was being shown on TV at all made it seem more real and somehow more likely to happen.
Jesus Christ, Dummy.
Fortunately, today, thanks to telly, I don't spend my time worrying about imminent nuclear extermination. Instead, I worry about everything. The nukes haven't gone away, they just scarcely get a look in, what with all the other neat new stuff to be scared of. Firstly, there's the obvious stuff like terrorism. I was frightened of that back in the 80s too.
I was sitting in a coffee shop about 40 yards away and there was a terrific blast, and we knew at once what had happened, of course. East London.
But in a modern 24-hour news environment where everything unfolds in real time, it feels more terrifying than it used to be. The chaos just unfolds, often unintelligibly, but always right in front of you, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. 24-hour TV news simply exacerbates your sense of powerlessness. Oh God, not again, no, not again! Of course, the news isn't the only scarefest in Teletown. There's also the joys of the reconstruction programme, shows which delight in telling you all about nasty stuff that might happen, nasty stuff that has happened.
Unaware of each other's injuries, the crew starts to mobilise.
Sit down! Get back to your seats! This is a real gun, and I'll kill you!
And nasty stuff that definitely will happen, and will happen to you, you poor doomed bastard.
You're in your house, it's in the middle of the night, you're in bed, you're half asleep and you hear a noise.
By leaving the security of your room, you open yourself up to coming face to face with a burglar.
Put that down now! Put it fucking down!
The most familiar reconstruction show is probably Crime Watch UK.
Get! Come here! Get down! Get out! Hold it! Shut up!
Crime Watch has been around so long it's easy to take it for granted, but mark my words, watch it on your own in an isolated cottage on a dark evening and I guarantee you'll have the most terrifying night of your life. What the f*** was that? Seriously, what the f***? Come on. I am armed. I've got a gun. Come on. Come on, show yourself. Yeah, ambulance, please. Hi, yeah, no, I've sort of blown my leg off. Well, everything below the right nut is just gone, basically. It's all a bit of a mess. Of course, when it's done scaring you with what the outside world's got to offer, TV's quick to remind you, well, that's nothing compared to the shit you'll inflict on yourself if you don't stop smoking, stop drinking, stop speeding, stop eating salt, stop not buying a smoke alarm, stop everything! Some people think it's all a conspiracy, that the system wants to keep you afraid so you'll stay indoors and keep watching. I'm not sure that's true, but then I would say that, wouldn't I? Ha 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 ha! I guess the thing to keep sight of is that things are never quite as perilous as TV would have you believe. I mean, look, this half of the screen represents normality, while this half represents rare horror. Which one's your eye drawn to? Which one's going to stick in your mind? all very well, but what am I saying exactly? Well, be not afraid, I suppose. Yeah, the world's a nasty place at times, but hey, we can change it, yeah? Together. Maybe if we look inside and learn to love a bit more and fear a bit less, then together we can... Jesus Christ, it's a mouse! It's a f***ing mouse! It's a f***ing mouse! It's now 25 years since MTV started, back in the days when cantankerous old men were still allowed to be pop stars, and computer graphics like this were considered cutting edge. Look at that, it's rubbish! Everyone must have been stupid back then. Anyway, today MTV is just one of many stations that squat around on cable and satellite waiting to crap music all over your carpet. Just like radio stations, each has its own target audience. There's shiny pop stations serving up an endless string of fresh-faced mewling little tits for the benefit of undemanding pubescents. Christ, is it just me or do McFly look like sort of Muppet baby farmhands? These poppier networks often feature the most startlingly sexual imagery you'll see this side of a bend-over video. It's really not good for me, looking at that. It's not. I'm not turning over until they show us their... Then there's stations specialising in shouty guitar bollocks for misunderstood teenagers who don't want to tidy their bedroom and don't care who knows it. Don't turn your back on me, I won't be ignored! Yeah, tell society where to shove it. Very expensive video, presumably paid for by the Absolute Bloody Subversion Corporation Incorporated. Students, meanwhile, are catered for with the likes of MTV2, which specialises in artsy alternative stuff which sometimes tips straight over into outright pretension. What's that all about? Huh? Finally, for tragic care home cases like myself, you've got stations like Magic, which specialise in blurry old stuff. Anyway, that's the sort of thing you're supposed to see, in theory, when you tune into a music TV station.
In practice, what you usually see is something like this. It feels like adverts are on 4 times as often as other commercial stations. That's not the case, it just feels that way. Ding 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 ding!
Not that adverts are the only things getting in the way of the music. Increasingly, stations like MTV pump out whole programmes instead of music videos. Case in point, Pimp My Ride UK, the show in which preposterous wigger Tim Westwood encourages ordinary members of the public to transform their cars into gaudy, bauble-encrusted monstrosities. What is this obsession with bling, anyway? I mean, it's just, ooh, look how much money I've got, ooh, look how gaudy and shiny I've made everything. It's just tasteless. It's like wiping your ass on a £50 note in front of a tramp. It's for f***ing morons. Anyway, my favourite music station has to be Channel U on Sky, because it's the only one that seems to show things you don't see on all the other stations, and it feels to me at least like it really means something to its audience, even if being a 30-something media tit myself, half of what they're saying sails clean over my bloody head.
Conk, cause there ain't no rules in the conking war. Everyone's involved in the conking war. If I see by them, then I'm conking the law.
I have no idea what a conking war is, but these young fellows have certainly made it sound jolly exciting. Anyway, there you go, music TV channels. They're like radio, basically, but minus the whole point of music, which is to listen to it, not look at it.
Sorry, madam. Whiffs a bit, doesn't it?
Fuck the smell, the toilet's talking!
Your loo is clean and fresh at every visit.
Ah, madam, take a seat.
Oh, madam, would you like to shit in my mouth?